becoming an entrepreneur is probably the biggest self-development project you're ever going to take on. And you don't think it's that, but it is that. And the number one and most important thing that you can do to be successful in anything, not just being in business, is to be able to visualize end states where you want to be at different points in time.
This is The Entrepreneur Way with Neil Ball. Unlocking the secrets of successful entrepreneurs 7 days a week. Subscribe to our podcast and follow us on Twitter at Neil D. Ball. Napoleon Hill said the power of the mastermind is the driving force. To discover how you can unlock the potential in your business using the power of a mastermind, go to mastermindunlimited.com. And now, here is your host, Neil Ball.
Hello everybody, Neil Ball here. Thank you so much for joining me today on The Entrepreneur Way. The Entrepreneur Way is about the entrepreneur's journey, the vision, the mindset, the commitment, the sacrifices, failures and successes. I'm so excited to bring you our special guest today, Peter Mehit. But before I introduce you to him, I've got a little bit of trivia for you. Georges St. Pierre said, the more knowledge you get, the more questions you ask. The smarter you get, the more you realise that everything can be possible. The Entrepreneur Way asks the questions so we all get the insight, inspiration and ideas to apply in our businesses. Peter, welcome to the show. Are you ready to share your version of the Entrepreneur Way with us?
I will do my best.
Marvellous. Peter Mehit is a veteran of both the Fortune 500 and tech startups. He worked worldwide as a business process troubleshooter and outsourcing deal leader for Computer Sciences Corporation. He has also participated in internet and consumer product startups and has started 4 of his own companies. Since 2004, he has been the owner of Custom Business Planning and Solutions and is the author of Killer Business Plan, Why You Need It and How to Write It. Peter, can you please provide us with some more insight into your business and personal life to allow us to get to know more about what you do and who you are?
No problem, and thank you so much for having me on the show. One of the things that I like about this show is that it's not focused on me talking about my business, but it's talking about how I got here and what the whole journey was about. And I love that concept. Mm-hmm. What we do is 3 main things. We help people organize their businesses so they run better. So if they've got problems, we help straighten them out. I've got 20 years of experience doing that. We write business plans and pitch decks for people looking for investments from banks, venture capital companies, private equity companies, private investors, angel investors. Mm-hmm. And then the fourth part is we actually help people source funding. So if they've got an idea and they've got their act together, we can actually help connect them with different funding sources. So that's primarily what the business is about. Mm-hmm. And then what I'm about is I'm useless as an employee now, having been in this business for 12 years. And I'm all about helping people find their feet as entrepreneurs because I think it's one of the most noble and courageous things anybody can do.
So can you just tell us a bit more about you? Obviously, you've written this book, which sounds very useful. Can you just tell us a bit more about your book?
Yes. Available on Amazon.com, by the way, and at killerbusinessplan.com. The book it's not a motivational, rah-rah, you should go back and get your business. It's a step-by-step practical guide. First, how to select a business. Second, how to figure out if that business will make money because there's no reason to start it if you can't make money at it. Yeah. And then the third is going through each section of the business plan, how you write it, what is the information you need to bring to it to create it. And it's a hybrid book where there's the physical copy of the book and then there is a online collection of templates, examples, videos, a sample template business plan, financial modeling, all that stuff's available online. So if you get the book, you get access to those online goodies as well. So the whole goal of it is it's written focusing on people coming out of corporate jobs looking to start businesses. So it helps them figure out how to select it, how to figure out if it will work, if it's feasible, and then how to actually write the business plan so you can either go get bank funding or go raise money, friends and family, or for the investor.
Sounds fantastic, actually. I think when I think back to when I had a business and I used to have to produce business plans, it's one of those things that it was before the internet was really around, and I was always struggling as to how to put it together. So you sort of have these ideas of what you need to put in it. So it'd be great to have a book that sort of guides you through it. So that sounds a wonderful thing to have. So what do you enjoy most about what you do, Peter?
It's really the uniqueness of it, and it's the challenge of it. It's like every client that comes through is different. For example, we've written over 500 business plans that have raised $138 million for our clients. And we've done a couple dozen wineries. We've probably done 25, 30 restaurants. And every one of these clients, these restaurant clients, even though they're all restaurants, they're all different. They have different ways they're set up, different ownership, different capital available to start, different challenges about where they want to open. And every one of them brings problems to solve. And so we love to dive into that. And the challenge of it, everything is, I know when somebody comes through the door, every new client that comes through, it's going to be a new opportunity, and I'm going to grow from it and learn from it. And I thrive on that. I love it.
So the niche you specialize on restaurants, did you say there?
No, actually, we're pretty much business agnostic. If you were to go to our website and look at our client list on the About Us tab of our website, we've written business plans. We've written business plans for a company that laser strips paint off of airplanes. We've written for ammunition manufacturers. We've written for a guy who's going to create a UFO themed hotel in Baker, California. Yeah. Okay, so that on top of gas stations, car washes, dry cleaners, liquor stores, markets, bodegas, distribution companies. So
any business.
Any business, because my background was really helping businesses. When I worked for CSC before we opened this business, was to troubleshoot all kinds of different businesses and all kinds of different businesses.
Okay. I'm just thinking as you talk about this, because you've obviously got a fairly unique set of skills there. How much difference do you think it makes having a professional person writing a business plan for you rather than somebody putting it together themselves?
I think that you need to do both. I think the person that's getting the business plan done needs to be actively involved. Yeah. But I think that a professional, especially somebody like us that has the amount of experience that we have across so many different situations, can help you not fall into the holes. Because there's a lot of business plan services out there. I won't name them, but they basically hire newly minted MBAs who understand the buzzwords. We've been in this, my partners and I, we've got about 120 years of experience. And if you look at, there's probably no situation we haven't seen some variant of, that's hugely valuable. That's like gold, because most of the errors that people commit when they're launching businesses come from lack of experience. Yeah. So, a lot of people say go get a mentor. That bridges that gap. Go be with Birds of a Feather group to get experiences on what they're doing. That bridges that gap. And then hiring us is another way to bridge that experience gap. And I think that's the main thing you got to do when you're starting.
I think a lot of small business owners often don't write business plans, do they? And I think it's a mistake, because ultimately it makes you sit down and think about your business and where you're going, and it just gives you a sense of direction. And obviously that's from a personal point of view, but I suppose when you're writing a business, especially if you're trying to raise funding, then having a well-written business plan could maybe tip it in your favour sometimes, I guess, couldn't it?
Well, in the United States, it's a requirement for banks above a certain level, and certainly if you're going to investors. The reason to do a business plan is it's really, you're doing the due diligence on what you're going to do. You're trying to figure out all the possible things that could work and all the possible things that could go wrong. And most people do business plans because they're trying to get funding. That's mainly the only reason why they write them. And unfortunately, if I were going to say I'm at the end of my lifespan with my business and I'm trying to sell my business or I'm trying to hand it off to my children, I need a plan for them. Yeah. I mean, it's just going through the rigor of understanding what it is that you're doing so that you're really doing a dress rehearsal for your success by writing that plan. So why wouldn't you do that?
Absolutely. I know with personal development stuff, which I know is slightly different, they say you've something like 1,000% more chance of hitting your goals if you write down your goals. Do you know if there's a similar thing for business plans? Is there actually a similar sort of number that people band around, or is there not such a thing?
Well, I mean, there are metrics that say you're twice as likely or 3 times as likely. I know the SBA says you're twice as likely to succeed if you commit to a plan, but I'll take you because you talked about self-development, and I think that's really important because becoming an entrepreneur is probably the biggest self-development project you're ever going to take on. Yeah. And you don't think that's that, but it is that. And the number one and most important thing that you can do to be successful in anything, not just being in business, is to be able to visualize end states where you want to be at different points in time. Yeah. And so even if my thinking has evolved quite a bit on this in terms of, I don't care if you write a formal business plan. I don't care if it's a spiral binder or a 3-ring notebook where you throw things in, as long as you think about, what are my finances? Who's my customer? What's my marketing going to be? Yeah. All those different things that I need to think about. As long as you're doing that rigor, you could read Killer Business Plan and not produce a business plan, just produce a spiral binder where you've clipped out pictures of things that are important and kept track of things. That visualization process is everything. The plan is the output of that.
I know from my experience, when I've done it, whenever I have created a business plan, I've always exceeded what I actually put in the business plan over the long term. So I don't know if that's just a coincidence, but it certainly worked for me. So I think
it's not a coincidence. No, it completely has to do with the fact that you took the time to say, what do I want the future to look like? So now you're aiming at something as opposed to, well, something good's going to happen. I'm just going to put myself out there. It's like the Secret, right? The Secret was, I don't know what it was like in the UK, but over here there was that concept, that book and the movie, The Secret. Yeah. Biggest steaming load ever dropped on humanity because it really told people, if you wish for it and you hope for it, it'll come. No, there's a whole bunch of hard work that's got to happen, and there's a whole bunch of setbacks you have, because the setbacks are equally as necessary as the successes, because they temper you and they build skills that you won't have if you just keep rolling through. And how you know that's true is look at sports figures, guys who never had anything but success, and they make millions and millions of dollars, and then when their careers are over, they're broke because they didn't learn how to deal with any setbacks. And trust me, in the entrepreneur world, you'll get plenty of them. You'll become a very strong person.
Absolutely. So, Peter, what is it that drives you?
I think what drives me is I don't like being in the same. I can tell you what caused me to start the business. I hate performance reviews. I just hate it. I got a really bad performance review one year, and it was really literally the catalyst, because in reality, I was doing all the hard work and I was kind of doing all the responsible work and not getting into details, but really I should have been higher up, and because politically I didn't quite fit in with this group, I was the low man. And I looked at it and I went, no, this is just a bunch of BS. And that was a huge motivator for me. So to have control of my situation, to know that I'm doing the best that I can do, and it's enough for me to recognize that I know I'm doing the best that I can do, and not being in a situation where I'm being evaluated by other people who may not be paying attention was really important to me. So that motivates me to have that freedom, to have the freedom of, hey, I don't want to work today. I don't, although that doesn't happen very often. And to have the freedom to give myself the permission to go the extra mile and do the right thing for the client, instead of being worried about somebody's budget constraints or somebody worrying about, where is this going to lead to? Just being able to do the right thing consistently drives me. And so I have the freedom that I had always wanted, and it's great, and I love it.
It's great. How do you relax when you're not working in your business?
Well, the few spare moments that I'm not, I like to hang out with my wife and my partner. She's in the business with me, and we sit across from each other on a partner's desk all day and still get along 12 years later. So I love spending time with her. I write music. I'm a musician. And I play a little bit. I'm a drummer. And so that's a lot. That's a huge, big release for me. And then, I try to get exercise now and again and just read and relax.
Yeah, it's good that. And do you have any entrepreneurial role models?
I really don't, because mainly when you look at the big names in the world, the Gates and Sir Richard Bransons and the Elon Musks, they're just people, and I feel like they get idolized. The people that I look to that I think are role models are my clients, are people who came out of jobs, had a lot of fear, overcame that fear, found success. We had one gal who was 26 years old, started a dog daycare and dog grooming business. Was doing $1 million a year now and was terrified when she started. Yeah. And to watch her go through what she went through to become who she is now was, to me, as inspiring as anything you could read about with Steve Jobs. So my clients are hugely inspirational to me.
Yeah, I agree with you there, actually. I actually believe that entrepreneurs are really the unrecognized and uncelebrated heroes of our society, really, because they create wealth, they create employment, they're just the creators of everything. And yet, unfortunately, we seem to idolize movie stars, pop stars and things like that. And really, whilst they do some good with their entertainment and things, I think the entrepreneurs just get forgotten about. And it's good to hear you say that.
Yeah, no, they're my people. I'm with my people with them.
Yeah. Peter, can we just go back to the time before you were an entrepreneur? Because I'd be interested to learn a little bit more about that. And can you talk about some of the difficulties that you had to overcome when you started your business?
Yeah, the number one difficulty I had was fear. Fear of failing, fear of not what I didn't know, fear that I would step out there and not be able to figure it out fast enough. Fear. And I think that's anybody who's listening to this is thinking about becoming an entrepreneur, you're terrified. And there are really three ways people deal with that. They just go all out and they say, okay, I'm going to jump out of the plane and the parachute's going to work and I'm going to be fine. And they risk it. And those people, ironically, tend to succeed because they don't give themselves an option to fail. Mm-hmm. Then there's the place where you analyze it to death. I learn as much as I can learn, and I do as much as I can do, and I go to a bunch of seminars, and I go to a bunch of stuff to accumulate information. And the danger of that is analysis paralysis, and you never really launch, which is kind of the third state, which is, you just kind of think about it and dream about it, but you never really get out in the game. And so for me, it was just overcoming that fear. And the way that I overcame the fear is kind of a funny story in that I was traveling probably 15 days a month worldwide when I was working for CSC. And I got a call on a Sunday afternoon saying, there's plane tickets at the airport. You've got to be there in 3 hours. And my wife, whom I was having breakfast with, looked across the table from me and said, I want you to quit your job right now. And I did. Which is the worst way you can start a business. Is absolutely we started. That's why we're so good at it, because we know everything you can do wrong, because we did everything you can do right.
Yeah. That's very decisive, though.
You know what? I love my wife. And the thing about, we had been married about 8 years at the time, and I could feel the distance increasing between the two of us because I was gone so much. And I went, you know what? This is ridiculous that I have to give up the rest of my Sunday to pack and run to the airport and get on a plane. No, not going to do it this time. And it was terrifying. It took us 8 months to get our first customer. It took us 6 months to figure out what we were doing. But you know what? That it happened is enough. It doesn't have to be graceful or elegant. It happened, and I'm grateful for it.
Well, it's obviously worked out for you. So did you have any doubts that delayed you starting your business? I mean, that was obviously quite a decisive moment there, but...
Yeah, pretty much what I said. I had a million doubts. What am I going to do? Who am I going to sell to? What am I selling? I have these really great skills that people paid. I mean, my book rate when I worked for CSC ran between $275 and $450 an hour. And I got flown out to do marriage counseling between the president and the VP of marketing for one of the largest pet food concerns in the world. Okay, so these were the kind of things that I was doing. I had all this amazing experience. When you hang out your shingle, you find out, guess what? Not only do people not know about you, but they don't care about you. And so stepping out of that massive marketing machine, which was computer sciences, into, hey, what can you do with your own two hands and feet, was hugely, hugely, hugely fear-inducing. So I would think probably that was the because we had talked about starting a business for several years before we did it. And I think that was probably the main thing was, just how are you going to get it started?
Yeah.
How are you going to get it rolling?
Yeah, it's always that difficult step, I suppose. So you talked about it taking you a while to get started and things. What mistakes did you make that slowed your journey down?
Well, I would say once we figured out what it was we were going to sell was not understanding that as the entrepreneur, you are the main marketer. And if I had to say the number one thing that holds most businesses back, the thing that has held our business back and retards our growth even now is marketing, is understanding how to get in front of people and get in front of the right people, because everybody is not your customer. If you're selling to everybody or anybody, you're selling to nobody. You have to segment. You have to learn about all these things. And I think every new entrepreneur is great at what they do. They understand what they want to sell, and they're terrible at understanding how to market and how to make those segment cuts and go after them. And so I would say that we had all of our setbacks have come from either not marketing properly or failing to pivot or change up when the market changed, not dealing with changes in the market. And so we've never had service, our clients love us. We've never had a service delivery problem that we couldn't overcome. But the marketing thing is key, and it's agnostic. It's every business in every possible industry. The marketing is key, and when you're first starting, you're it. You can't go out and hire it. You've got to learn it so you know what it is, so you can teach the people you hire what they need to do.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, one thing you said there, which is quite interesting, is that not every person is your customer. But what I would say is everything in your business is marketing, because ultimately how you present your business, how people get treated within your business, all of that really is marketing. So marketing is more than people often think about in the business, isn't it? Because quite often people think, well, it's just the advertising and that's it. When in reality, it's, if you've not got something in stock, you lose a customer. That's marketing in a way, because that customer's going to go and buy somewhere else. So everything, I think, is marketing in your business. So yeah. We teach classes. We teach all kinds of different classes, and one of the things we teach is on just basic entrepreneurship, right? Yeah. And one of the first questions I always ask a group of people is, what is your job? What is the job in your job in this? It's like, I'm the CEO, I'm the project designer, I'm this and that. I go, no, you're chief marketer. Yeah. That's your job. You're chief marketer, because it's more than just advertising. It's client service. It's how you handle client problems. It's how you deal with the community. It's everything, because it boils down to one thing: image. How do people see you? Because people buy from people who know what they're doing, who they trust. And if you can't build that image, then you're going nowhere fast. Absolutely. So what are some of the things that you did before you started your business that would be helpful tips for some of the listeners who haven't yet taken that first step of the entrepreneur way?
I think that you need to look at the business you want to get into and understand the nuts and bolts of it. Not just like, for example, let me pick something just down here. Okay, I'm a freelance writer, okay, and I know how to write well, and I want to start a business in my back bedroom to do freelance writing, and eventually I want to bring people on and hire them out of my company to do freelance writing. Okay, so I know how to write. That's half the battle, but the bigger part of the battle is the demand, the marketing side. So how do people buy the service you're trying to sell or the product you're trying to sell? What are the demographics of those people that buy? Where are they located? And what's the psychographics? What are the things they like? Where are the places you can get in front of them so they understand what it is that you're trying to sell and you can be visible to them? And so I think the biggest failure that people have, again, goes back to marketing. And then the second piece of it is, how does the business that you want to start make money? How are the people paid? How do you get contracts? What do the contracts typically look like? Because, like, for example, I had one guy that wanted to go into the construction industry, and he just had this idea that when you got the contract, that if it was a $500,000 contract, that they were going to write you a check for $500,000, and then you use that money to do the contract. No, it doesn't work that way. You front the money, and they pay you on progress points. So now you have to be bankable. Now you have to be able to get a line of credit. Now, and so on. And so, not understanding how your industry works, what are the practices in it, and how you market to the people who buy your product Those are the two most important things, and the things that most people starting out don't focus on. They focus on what is it that I'm selling. You focus on the supply side. If you focus on the demand side, you'll never lose. If you focus on the supply side, you are likely to lose.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So can we just talk about your entrepreneurial journey a little bit, Peter? How much do you think culture is important from the beginning in a business?
I think culture is everything, and I think we've been really fortunate in the people that we've brought on board, but we've been really careful about the people we've brought on board. Because I think that hiring somebody for skill or because they can get a certain thing done is not enough. Because if they're disruptive, if they're what we like to call drama queens or high maintenance people, you spend as much time dealing with fluvium and nonsense as you do actually getting work done. So it's really important that you don't have to agree. You don't want everybody to agree. We have a lot of strong opinions in our office, and sometimes it gets kind of hairy in the discussions, but everybody is aiming at the same thing and trying to achieve the same goals. I don't believe that necessarily you have to have everybody fired up, but you have to have everybody agreeing on the goals and willing to go the same direction. And so I think culture is really important in that regard, in that I think that you have to come to an agreement about where the boundaries are, how people treat each other, how disputes are handled, and how things are tracked and projects are managed. And I think once you get everybody on the same page, then everybody's focused on work. It gets interesting.
Absolutely. And knowing what you know now, is there anything that if you'd known it when you started out would have helped you to shortcut the learning curve?
Absolutely. And I'm going to harp on this. It's going to sound like, well, this guy writes business plans. Why does he care about marketing so much? I would say the number one thing that will shorten your time to success is learning who your specific customer is. Because every business, just like things resonate in nature at a certain frequency, every business has a natural customer, the person that if they see it, they'll buy it. And so you've got to find out of all the 7 billion people on the earth, who are the group of people that are going to respond. Like, for example, our business, primarily the people that respond to us and hire us are Generation X. They're college educated, typically have an income of above $75,000. Or if they're not individuals, they're companies that are between $5 and $50 million. And the reason for that is if they're $50 million in revenue and above, they're going to go to a bigger company. And they tend to be family-owned companies as opposed to publicly traded companies. So we spent a lot of time learning who our core audience is, our core customer is, and we have a lot of success with those. That doesn't mean I don't branch out into other areas, but I learn about those people, like we're trying to attract millennials more. Millennials are an entirely different group of people to market to. And there's things, it's all about them, and you have to make the message specific, personal to them, the things they like to do, the things they like to be, the places they like to be. So the biggest shortcut is take the risk, take the plunges. It feels totally counterintuitive to, I've got this whole giant pool of people I can market to, but I'm going to market to this tiny little slice. It feels totally counterintuitive, is fear-inducing, and feels completely wrong, but it's the quickest way to success. And the way you know it's true is because if you let's look at Apple. When Apple was marketing the iPod, what was their advertising? A bunch of people, a bunch of dancing silhouettes looking happy and cool. But you had identifiers, their hair, their clothes, the silhouettes and stuff. So they weren't identifying specific people, but they were identifying specific types of people. And I think that that's what you need to do, is you need to narrow it down so you can pour a lot of energy in it, get a lot of momentum with that one slice, and then move out from there.
Yeah. And how much do you think that gut feeling influences your decisions in your business?
More than I like, but it's a necessity. I mean, I would love to have information for every decision that I make, but if I wait for that information, I don't make a decision. And no decision is a decision. Yeah. So I think what I want to do is I've got enough experience where I'm really comfortable with my gut. But as a new entrepreneur, you don't have that same thing, and that's where a mentor comes in handy That's where being with a peer group comes in handy, because you can say, my gut's this on it, I'm not feeling really strong about it, and you can get some feedback. Now, there's a caveat to that. And the caveat to that is you have to have enough judgment to weigh the advice you're getting, because you may be getting crappy advice too. And that's where going with your gut is probably always the safest play.
Mm-hmm. Life is made of constant change, whether we like it or not. So the only constant, or one of the only constants, probably is change. So how do you keep up with change?
I try to relax and have a sense of humor. Mm-hmm. I think seriously, I'm not trying to be flippant. I think that is the two biggest things that you can to bring to them, because you are going to be confronted with change constantly. Because I guarantee you, even if you sit down and write the world's greatest business plan, it is not going to unfold the way that you planned for it. But the reason to write a plan, Bill Bruford, who was the drummer for Yes, and I don't know if he's a British drummer, one of my favorite people, he said the reason for discipline is the pursuit of excellence. And that is like the greatest quote in the world. You get yourself together, you exercise, you write your plan, you understand what it is you're trying to do, so that when it doesn't come down the pike the way you want, you go, oh yeah, I thought about that. Or, wow, this is different, but I have these other things I could bring to the table to deal with this change. That's really, really the most important thing I think you can do, is to just constantly make sure that you're evaluating the situation, and not to be set back or put off or bummed out that it didn't roll out the way you do, because it's totally unrelated, but I used to trade stock splits in the market, and the deals I'd actually make more money when they broke the way I didn't think they were going to break. Consistently. Yeah.
Okay. And what is your favorite book on entrepreneurialism, business, personal development, leadership, or motivation? And can you tell us why you have chosen it?
It's interesting. I have to, whenever I try to read a book about entrepreneurialism, because this is what I do, the authors expose how much they don't know, that I can't read them. So the book I will suggest to you there's two.
Yep.
One is by Viktor Frankl, and it's going to sound very melodramatic, but the title of it is Man's Search for Meaning. Yeah. And I would say it's a short read. You can read it in 2 hours. It's like 100 pages, small, big type in a small book. And the thing about that, what he says is basically the world is what you decide it is. And if you come at anything in life that this is going to be what I decide it is, regardless of what the setback is, I can control how I react to what happens to me, is the most empowering message ever. And it's delivered in a very short, potent way. And so I would say, I would recommend that book to anybody, and everybody I've recommended to say, that book kind of changed my life. Yeah, it would. And the second one is something, if you Google something called the Master Key. Master Key. It was written in 1902. And it's actually the foundation of The Secret. And unfortunately for the people who bought into The Secret, the Master Key is kind of the real deal, because they go, you have to visualize, and you have to get ready to do it, and you have to be wishful and mindful and thoughtful, but then you got to actually do the work. And the thing that's most valuable about the Master Key is all the stuff that it talks about in terms of visualization. And there's one other book, too, I just thought about it. It's another older book, and it's about visualization, which is super valuable, and it's called Psycho-Cybernetics, not to be confused with Dianetics. Psycho-Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz. And that one book, if you read the chapters on the theater of the mind, is insanely valuable, because I use that process every time I'm going into a negotiation, every time I'm meeting a new client. I sit down and try to visualize how I want the meeting to come out. And you know what? But it comes out about 8 out of 10 times the way I want it to, because I take the time to think about what I'm going to do.
Yeah, some great books there. Thanks for that. Everyone, when you have a busy life, listening to audiobooks is a great way to expand your knowledge in the time that you may be doing other things, such as driving or when you're when you're at the gym. We have a special offer for you with a free audiobook of your choosing. To choose your free audiobook, go to www.freeaudiobookoffer.com. As long as you've not already signed up, then you will qualify. Peter, what I'd like to do now is fast forward to the future a little bit. So what is the one thing that you would do with your business if you knew you could not fail?
I've been asked that question before, and that comes from a kind of a fear place. And so I don't answer that question that way about if I could not fail. I think more, I think I don't fear challenges. I don't fear the situation. I have lacks, okay? I have resource lacks, or I'll have different lacks. And so I think the challenge for us right now is we're trying to build an online product where you could go out and, because the online products that are out there to write business plans, they're terrible. They're all terrible. We've looked at all of them. So we've got an idea of how to build that. And so the thing I'd like to do is to launch that product this year. And so the challenges we face around that product are really resource-based, and we're thinking about doing a crowdfunding to raise the money to do that. But I don't really come from a place of worrying about whether I'm going to fail or not, because having failed so many times in the last 12 years, it's kind of like, I mean, you're talking to somebody, the 2008 crash, we basically lost everything in the 2008 crash because banks stopped lending money, people stopped starting businesses. So I can't imagine, short of people like rounding me up at gunpoint, that it could get worse than that. So I'm kind of beyond the fail piece of it, and now looking at, if I had the resources, this is what I would do, because I think the future is mobile. I think the future is online. I think the idea of the business plan of what it used to be is dead, and I think it needs to evolve into a new space, and we struggle with what that is. And I think that's kind of what we're looking for, is how do we evolve, because people still need to do this exercise. How do we change it into something that they perceive as valuable, something that they want to do, and something that will actually deliver value to them? And so that's kind of where we're going with it.
Okay. Sounds exciting. I'd like to be kept. It'd be good to hear from you when you've sorted that out, actually.
Oh, yeah.
So what skill, if you were excellent at it, would help you the most to double your business?
What do you think the answer is to that?
I think it might be. I think you might say marketing somewhere here, but
my work here is done. Yes, that's why. Because every time we've gotten better at our marketing, we have doubled.
Yeah. Okay.
Every time.
Good answer. In 5 years from now, if a well-known business publication was publishing an article on your business after talking to your customers and suppliers, what would you like it to say?
I would like it to say something like, they helped us find prosperity while growing with order and calm. And that we help them take the chaos out of their business, because that's what we do. And we actually have customers that would say that now. So if you can get on the line of Forbes and have them call me, I will set them up.
Okay, I'll work on that.
Work on it, please.
We're now at the part of the show where you share 3 golden nuggets with us. So the first one is, can you share your favourite quote with us and tell us how you've applied it?
In the Midwest of the United States, people are really very, very straightforward and honest kind of people. And I grew up in Ohio. And one of the things that the old folks used to say is, start out as you mean to go on. Start your relationships out. Don't start from a place of exaggeration or overrepresentation. Be direct, be honest, and then hold your partners and hold your clients and customers to that same standard so that there aren't any misunderstandings. In business, the most important thing we manage are expectations. And so if you set those expectations correctly in the beginning, you can't have an unhappy customer. It's impossible. If you set the expectations properly, if you communicate properly, but that means that you've got to start out from a place of integrity and stay in that place of integrity and make sure that you deal with people of integrity and keep them in integrity. So I'd say, to me, if you do that, I don't care what kind of business you have. I work with car dealers. People in the United States, at least, to be automobile dealers to be slandered practically. It's about being dishonest and stuff. I work with some really honest people in the industry. And so I think and their clients and customers love them. And so I think if you start out from that place, it can't go bad. You can fall out, the customer can quit you, You could tell the customer to go away, whatever, but you're not going to be in a place of, well, you know what, I wish I would have done better, or, you know, I wasn't quite right with that person. You don't want to be there. So that's why you got to start out how you need to go on.
Okay. And do you have any favorite online resources that you could share with us that would be useful?
I work with so many of them. I can't really think of one off the top of my head because they're also kind of specific to doing different parts of what I do. So I got to take a flyer on that one. I'm sorry.
Okay. And what is your best advice to other entrepreneurs?
Be truthful to yourself and forgive yourself. Have tolerance for your mistakes. Don't beat yourself up when things go wrong because they're going to go wrong. Because the people that succeed in this life, not just in entrepreneurship, but in life, are the people who don't quit. It doesn't have I've met a million people with huge potential that didn't go anywhere. And I've met people with 5 and 6, like, for example, I got one guy, five restaurants. He's got 5 restaurants. This guy, when I work with him, I go, how did you do this? He struggles with everything, but he never gives up. And so the most important, the most dangerous word, in my opinion, in life is potential. Because people think, I don't have to try as hard. The people who win are the people who are just going to never give up. And so don't beat yourself up. Love yourself. Find your weaknesses, face them honestly, and just don't ever let go. Just keep hanging on.
Okay. Everyone, if you didn't manage to get a note of Peter's favourite resources or his favourite books, you can find the links on Peter's show notes page. Just go to theentrepreneur.com and search for Peter or Peter Mehit in the search box. Peter, is there anything else that you'd like to add about your business?
Well, other than that, we're rock stars and we do a really great job for our customers and that you would have an amazing experience when you work with us. And by the way, we have done work internationally. I want to make an offer to your listeners because this has been one of the most enjoyable interviews I've ever had.
Thank you.
And mainly because it focuses, it's not about me in the sense of I'm trying to hype what I do. And so because I sense that you're working with people who are just getting started, I want to do something pretty special. I want to offer an e-copy of Killer Business Plan, which will give you access to the web stuff as well. I want to offer that to your listeners.
That's fantastic, that, Peter. Thank you. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll put a link on the page for that for everybody to be able to get that. You'll just have to enter your email address and you'll get access to the copy. Okay, so Peter, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on here. I've really enjoyed the chat and you've really provided us with some great insight into being an entrepreneur, and you've certainly given us a lot to think about. So thank you very much.
And thank you for having me on. It was really enjoyable. It was kind of a nice journey down memory lane of stuff I haven't thought about for a while. So thank you. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to The Entrepreneur Way. Subscribe to our podcast and follow us on Twitter @Neil D. Ball.